baby dolls, YouTube, Facebook. Once again, it's Christian. Um, Today I won't be doing anything really controversial. I think I'm actually gonna start the process of introducing myself. Um, I've decided to go ahead and get the big hurdle out of the way. This video is titled "Will I Lose My Dignity?" and that comes from one of the songs and one of the ideas from the movie Rent, which is one of my favorite movies for various reasons. Um, in this video, I will tell my story. A lot of people know um, a little bit about my story, but I'm gonna go ahead and just tell it, I guess. I I'm just looking at I am beat. Like I went to school looking like this today. Just beat out my mind. See these eyebrows? Okay, back to business. Um, this video will be about my diagnosis. In 2007, I found out that I was HIV positive, which was a it was a really really tough time for me. And as those of you who will watch this video who share my struggle, you will understand exactly where I'm coming from with this video. Um, I guess I should start off by telling my diagnosis story. I was, I was, let's see, I was a freshman. Yes, I was a freshman at Winston-Salem State University in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I was dating the man of my dreams. Life was perfect. Everything was going well. My family drama, which again I always say I will address, but I will eventually address it. But my family drama had kind of cooled off a bit, and life was actually pretty good. Um, so in the midst of dating this man, we were getting really, really serious. We had been together for a few months, and we had refrained from doing anything of a serious sexual nature. So I decided that I was going to go ahead and when I returned to Charlotte for spring break, I was going to go ahead and get my regularly scheduled test done. Now, the odd thing was, a few months prior to that, I had had a sore throat that was really bad. Like, I think it lasted for maybe a week or so. And I went to the doctor and they gave me regular antibiotics. They ran all kind of tests and they tested me for everything but HIV. So I went to school. I think I got the shot maybe a week or two before I went to school. And I went to school and everything was fine. Except for maybe about 2 to 3 months after I started school, I started to get swollen glands underneath here, back here in the back. And they wouldn't go down. Like, normally my glands would swell, which a lot of people do when they get sick. But they wouldn't go away even after I got the shot. And these under here started to get sore. So I kind of freaked out a little bit. You immediately assume the worst. So I started researching all kind of reasons that your glands could be swollen. And one of the first reasons that popped up was HIV. But you know us. The last thing we assume that is actually true is the absolute worst. I mean, you consider it, but that's not the thing that you rest upon. You eventually just say, oh, maybe I just have some sort of a lingering infection. No, baby. So anyway, I went to the health department in Charlotte on Beatty's Board. Shout out to North Carolina. Um, and I got tested. Now, when I went in, they tested me for they did a barrage of tests. They tested me for every STD under the sun. I was freaking out. I was scared. So, given my sexual preference, they decided to go ahead and do a oral quick test. Now, let me diffuse a rumor. HIV is not transferable or transmittable through saliva, but there is an enzyme that it creates in your saliva which test can detect, and that's what the test tests for. It does not test for the HIV antibody. So people who are worried about drinking out the people who are positive, please don't freak out about that. Sidebar. So anyway, we decided to go ahead and do the oral test. They also drew blood, which I absolutely hated at the time, and sent me out to the waiting room to wait. Now, as I was sitting in the waiting room, there was this lady sitting beside me, and she was like, "You know what?" She said, "You are a really handsome young man." And we just sat there and we talked for a while. And before I got up, because I think it was maybe a couple minutes before the nurse came back out into the waiting room and got me, she said, "Today your life is going to change." But she said, "Never stray from your assignment and always trust God." And she smiled at me. And I was like, okay, creepy. So I went back into, and I'm able to smile at this because it's been a while and I've had time to process all the feelings, but it was not like this particular day. But I went back into the room and the nurse took me into the social worker's office, which I didn't know if it was unusual or not, but I went to the social worker's office and I sat down. And he came back in, or the social worker for the first time actually. The nurse left and the caseworker came in, and he was like, he asked me my name and I confirmed my name, my birthday, or whatever. And he came back in with a manila folder. He walked in, opened the folder, looked at me, and then said, "I'll be right back." My heart began to race. I was freaking out, like, oh my God, something's wrong. And I'm literally praying for gonorrhea, the clap, anything except what I knew was the truth. I knew it. I knew it. You kind of know. But he came back in and he sat down and he said, "Preliminary results would indicate," and these were his exact words, I will never forget them. "Preliminary results would indicate that you are," and this went in slow motion, "HIV positive." I was at a loss for words. I stood up and passed out. When I came to, he was kind of like tapping my face, like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." He's like, "You want some water?" I'm like, "Yes, please. Do you have anything stronger?" So we sat and we talked for a while, and I left. Oral quick tests are 99.9% accurate. I believe it's 99.98% accurate, but there is a margin of error. I held on to that 0.2% for the next 3 weeks. I was like, please, God, if you have ever loved me, please let this antibody test come back negative. So I didn't go back. But I went outside and I got in my car and I proceeded to melt down. I put myself together and I called my ex, my first love, and I told him that I was coming over, and he was like, okay. So he had moved to a new place, so I go over there and we're sitting there talking, and he's like, "You look like you have something on your mind." And I was like, "Well, I do." And he was like, "Oh, what is it?" I said, "Well, I just found out I'm HIV positive." He busted out laughing. He started laughing, rolling around on the couch laughing. He was like, "No, for real. What was it? Like, what's wrong?" And I was like, "I'm not playing." And he looked at me and he started to cry. And then I broke down and we were just a big crying mess. So I called my boyfriend at the time that I was practically living with in Winston-Salem. And he was like, "Okay, everything's fine. Everything's all right. I'm not going to go anywhere or whatever." And I was like, "Okay, great. Maybe this isn't going to be so bad." That was not to be so. Um, I think I was home for another week, and I went back to school. And when I got home, which was the home that we shared, me and my boyfriend shared, I went to kiss him, and he dodged me, and I was like, "Okay," and he was like, "I just got out of church," and I'm like, "That's never stopped anything before." So to make a long story short, that relationship ended in I. The relationship prior to this was perfect. We never fought, but in the weeks following that, we fought every day over this